Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Al Cabrera. That's Matt Morrison. Mike's
Hi.
on vacation, so we're taking over for another day here on the show. Just the two of us. Matt, turn on the Do Not Disturb, man. Come on.
That was my laptop. Oh, I just turned it off.
Well, either way, yesterday we got started on some NFL talk that's going to continue here in a little bit. But, Matt, we had more news out of college football today. So, obviously, last week we got the news USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten. Now, not confirmed as of yet, but the Pac-12 is looking like a near in total collapse as a whole nother group of teams is set to potentially move out of the conference as well. The Big 12 is looking to acquire, potentially get the rights deals to Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado for the start of 2025, which is the same year Texas and Oklahoma leave for the SEC. USC and UCLA will actually be the first teams to move in our massive conference switch up coming up in the next couple of years. But, Matt, this is bad news for the Pac-12 because it is if this was to happen, it's Oregon, Washington State, and Stanford, and Cal. I think
they're all going to leave.
Which seems like it, but I don't know. You know what? No, I don't think they'd leave. I think what this actually does will potentially kill off one of our other smaller divisions. We saw the WAC dissolve a couple of years ago, actually probably almost a decade ago at this point. We saw the Big East dissolve around that same time a decade ago. This has a really good leaning to potentially dissolve the Mountain West as they absorb a bunch of those teams. If I had to guess, the next step is take out one of the smaller conferences to bolster one of the big ones again. That seems the likelihood of it. And plus, those smaller teams, San Diego State, Mike and I were talking about it last week, San Diego State, Boise State, Utah State, BYU out of the independents. A lot of those teams, I think, would very much like the money that a brand like the Pac-12 could add into their school. But this is the exact shift. We are no longer in a Power 5 college football starting 2024. Power 5 football is gone. We're down to a Power 4 in the 2025 season.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, does it not?
Yeah.
We have 4 playoff spots, 4 major conferences.
Yeah.
College, they made this playoff. This was the unexpected consequence of it, but it might actually work out for the better because 4 spots, now they can almost make it. If you win your conference, you're in the playoff. Going for your conference, it's going to force those smaller conference schools to join the big conference like the Pac-12, which would keep the Pac-12 alive, and it would birth in, a new era of college football with 4 major conferences splitting the United States.
Yep. You could see, you were talking about those small schools joining the Pac-12 since all their big names are leaving USC, UCLA. What about the rest of those teams like Stanford and Cal becoming an independent like Notre Dame? If they disband
can see it happen.
I can see that.
Definitely. Because I don't think a lot of teams are going to want to join this because
everybody's leaving.
Right now, the South Division, if this all goes through, is gone. The South Division currently made up of 6 teams. Utah, which would go, UCLA gone, Arizona State gone, USC gone, Colorado gone, Arizona gone. They are down to 6 teams: Stanford, Washington, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State, and Oregon.
Oregon will be the next one out.
It feels like that, but I find it interesting that both Arizona and Arizona State decide to leave at the same time. Right on the money, going together. Colorado, a team that hasn't been great, is also going to go, and Utah is really the big name that we're losing out of the Pac-12 if this all follows through. Having Utah leave there, Oregon's left with no competition.
Nope.
And yet again, it just comes to who can they bring in. And maybe the saving grace here for the Pac-12 is there is still a really big school out there that's an independent.
Notre Dame.
If, and this is a big if because it seems like the most unlikely of scenarios, especially with everybody leaving the conference, if Notre Dame was acquired by the Pac-12, that feels like the saving grace of that conference. If it happens, the likelihood, though, Notre Dame's going either staying independent, Big Ten, or ACC. Those are the three likelihoods. I don't see an SEC route for them. They don't fit that style. I don't think they'd play well down there.
No. Now, how well is UCLA and USC going to do in the Big Ten?
I think they're going to do just fine. USC has always stuck to their guns and have played well nationally, playing their style of football. They got Lincoln Riley in there, who has played on a national level, played in a fully offensive exploded league. And maybe the one question is, how will the defense be? Because we know the Big Ten is a high defensive powerhouse, and out of a lot of schools, that's what they rely on, not necessarily always offense. I think they'll struggle in a couple of those games, but I don't think they're going to have much of a problem because we've seen Ohio State, even with a terrible defense, still have great offensive play and win games by huge margins. You have to have average defense in the Big Ten. If you have a great defense, a great offense, then you'll be able to win games just fine. That's what allowed even Penn State to have a couple of good seasons in there under James Franklin. They had great offensive weapons like Saquon, and it turned into profits for them because they had I'd say a decent defense for those couple of years. They had some standout guys, but there was just solid defense, and that allowed them to be good in the Big Ten. You don't need amazing offense in the Big Ten. You don't need amazing defense. You have to have a good balance. And I think so long as Lincoln Riley puts in balance there, he's going to be fine. UCLA does concern me, though. I think they're going to be good in other sports. Obviously, bringing them in for basketball, hallelujah. Big Ten just got even better when it comes to basketball with these two schools. Yeah. But in the football department, UCLA was the better team last year, but they were also playing in what we were calling most of the year the worst conference out of the Power Five, and it wasn't even close. I mean, Oregon was really the only team for a while there that anybody had any faith in, mainly coming off of the win against Ohio State. Utah was out there. They went 10-4 overall, 8-1 in conference play. UCLA was the second best team in the South Division last year, going 8-4 overall. And that was under, I think, a fifth-year senior quarterback. So what are they going to look like in the next 2 years? I hope maybe the one thing is some of those California recruits that make their way out to go play in the SEC might stick around in California to play in the Big Ten under their big hometown schools, now joining the big conference with a big-name head coach over there in Lincoln Riley. I think UCLA is going to have the biggest struggles. I think they're going to have more of a potential Nebraska-esque move over where they might have a good year to start, and then things are going to continuously go downhill for them once we hit that 2024 season. Keep in mind, though, we got 2 seasons till any of this takes hold. You can bet your butt there's going to be a lot of change-ups. Coaching changes, I think, are going to be the huge thing, not just with those 2 new teams who are joining the Big Ten, but Big Ten players, Big Ten coaches right now, everyone's on the hot seat. When you have 2 premier programs coming in from out west, guys like Scott Frost, it's time to put up or shut up because you were one of the last teams entered in here and you've done nothing. They were one of the last 3. James Franklin, I would say, because they're probably in a spot right now they should be winning, and they're 12-12 in the last 2 seasons under him. He's going to be on the no more excuses for James Franklin, Matt. The dude has had. Yeah, he's got a big contract. Yeah, he's going to be on the hot seat because you look down the line 3 years when those teams set to join in the big move in 2025, when this whole Big 12 situation could happen. Guys like James Franklin, their contract's going to be down in their final 2 years going out of that first year of mega huge conference play in 2025. This is, I'm not saying right now, but the hot seat starts now. This is when you turn that oven on. Everything is preheating. It's up to these coaches to put in their good years now to make sure they got a spot. Because I'd even say for a guy like Kirk Ferentz, who I'm sure they will let coach at Iowa till he decides to retire, just out of precedent in what he has done for their program. But I would even say a guy like him or Paul Chryst out of Wisconsin, those guys are going to start feeling the pressure of these 2 new teams joining in and super conferences seemingly take over. These schools are going to want their very best. I think Harbaugh saved himself another 3-4 years here with the win over Ohio State, the Big Ten championship. I mean, it had been, I think, 30 years since they'd won a Big Ten title, if not more. They had never won Wait, no, they had never won a Big Ten title since the conference championship game was put in, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think so. Let's look.
I believe that was the stat that came out.
Right now, if Ohio State would beat Michigan this past year, we wouldn't be seeing him right now as a coach. He would have been gone by now.
Yeah, the hot seat was lit for him, and he cooled it off for a little bit. He gave himself an extension, but Matt, back here down in the Big 12 potential edition, they're going to be a huge conference as well. I mean, we're already looking at, they lose two. They brought, I think it was 3 teams in, Cincinnati, Houston, and, oh geez, now I'm forgetting the last team they brought in. Cincinnati, Houston. Oh, give me a second, because now I don't remember. Actually, pardon me, not BYU to the Pac-12. They're one of the teams announced. There's 4 teams coming in: UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU, all joining the Big 12 already. So they lose 2, bring in 4, and now you might even see them bring in another 4 on top of that. They're going to add 8 teams to what's already a decent conference. They lost their 2 big names, but they moved on perfectly. And the Big 12 conference, I think, might make some noise, especially if Cincinnati continues at their current level and BYU as well. They're gonna be just fine, I think, without Oklahoma and Texas. Those are big losses, but to bring in a team like Utah really bolsters what this conference can be, because Utah will bring in similar offense with that great defense we've been seeing out of Oklahoma State and Baylor these last couple of seasons, and that should be a lot of fun to watch. Arizona and Arizona State, I think, are wild cards. They were brought in for other sports. Football is going to be a give or take type thing. It's like Kansas. No one's watching Kansas football. They're there for the basketball. Same thing with Arizona and Arizona State. They're there for money, viewership, because Arizona is a huge market that not a lot of teams have capitalized on, not a lot of places have capitalized on. And, the prestige of those schools alone. Colorado is just kind of feels like an extra piece. That's just like, hey, make it 4 instead of 3 so that you can keep, some of those matchups the same. It's easier to have 4 than it is to have 3, so you keep that even number.
Colorado hasn't really been significant since like 1994 when they had Cordell Stewart and they beat Michigan or something. It was like a Hail Mary pass to beat Michigan. I don't know, they were like ranked 3rd overall. That's been a while.
Well, yeah, it has been a while, and they kind of do feel like a team that really should be in one of those minor conferences rather than the Power 5. But, they're not. They're here. They're one of the college football's oldest teams. They started all the way back in 1890. They have been around a long time here in college football. So it's a prestige brought in. Last time, Matt, to your point, they were really relevant, though. 2016, they had a 10-4 season, but that was their only winning season since 2005. So it has been a while since this team has really done anything. That 10-4 season, though, was kind of like a, whoa, hello there. That. Yeah, and then it looked like they were going to start building. They signed Mel Tucker in 2019. They go 5-7 overall, and then Michigan State goes, hey, I want you, and he goes, I am out of here. So maybe we should have seen this a couple years ago that it was going to be the end of the Pac-12.
At the time, we're like, who the hell is this Mel Tucker guy? Michigan State, what are you doing? This is the guy you brought in to replace Mark D'Antonio, and now look what he's done.
Well, especially because, they go with Mel Tucker after he wasn't even like top 3 picks for this school. It was getting guys like Luke Fickell or Marcus Freeman, who's now the head coach at Notre Dame. And then, we get down the list, boom, 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 boom. And you're down to this dude named Mel Tucker, who's coached 1 season at the college level as a head coach and had a losing season out of it. And they bring him in, and he got 1 year with Kenneth Walker. And he's had a couple of years now, but the one was Kenneth Walker. The Kenneth Walker
that
season.
First year was kind of bad.
Right, but you kind of give him that. You're like, hey, first year, Big Ten play, huge change up here from the Pac-12. Let's go see what changes here. But I would say a guy like Mel Tucker, I think he bought himself some extra time with the Goodyear last year. But at that same point, he needs to get this thing turned around for Michigan State. They got the great season out of Kenneth Walker. He's out of there. He's off to the NFL. Best of luck elsewhere. I don't remember. He was a second rounder, though. And I think Mel Tucker's another one of those guys on the hot seat. Down in the Big 12, I think there's plenty of hot seats to be handed out.
Seahawks.
Okay.
Ooh.
But as I was saying, I think that Big 12, I think there's a lot of coaches that are going to be put on the hot seats. I mean, you look at this conference right now, Iowa State, Baylor, and Oklahoma State. Those guys probably all fine. But guys like Joey McGuire out of Texas Tech, likely chance he's gone, here soon. Neil Brown out of West Virginia because WVU has been nothing since the departure of Will Grier. Sonny Dykes at TCU. They looked like they were going to have a good season, 4 or 5 years ago, started 3-0, came in there, a neutral site game against Ohio State, got blown away, and they haven't been the same ever since. Likely chance he's gone. Chris Kleiman, Kansas State. They've been making some nice steps in the right program. I think so long as he continues to have that upward trajectory, he'll be fine because they're a team on the cusp of competing. He's only been here a couple of years. He was the guy at North Dakota State that led them to the promised land, all those titles. He's got the prestige. He's probably got a good chance to stay around. But like Mike Campbell, Mike Gundy, and Dave Aranda, those guys are locked in. Those are the three big coaches down in the Big 12. They're fine. But I'd say for the other teams that are going to remain after Oklahoma and Texas departs, good luck, because if you're bringing in this many teams out of the Pac-12, it's bound one or two of them is going to have a big pop and make themselves known early on in this conference.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear it, but that's what we got so far. We'll keep you up to date if anything progresses on this. And Matt, I think maybe the one final thing is, what is Notre Dame going to do? Are they going to remain independent, or are they going to finally join a conference? If you were Notre Dame, Matt, what would you do?
I'd stay independent.
I would do the same. As much as I hate them being independent and I think they need to join a conference, I would stay independent. Their contract right now with NBC is so much more than they would make inside of a conference.
Yeah. They joined the ACC. They were in that ACC year for the COVID year.
COVID year, yeah.
Yeah, and then they went right back. Like, I don't see them actually going into any conference. I think they're going to stay unless they get a big deal or whatever.
It would have to be something, and maybe the only likelihood is
like if they get like an Arch Manning type of player or whatever, or like that guy with high mentality who's thinking about going there, but won't go there unless they join a conference because he wants to win a conference title.
I don't even see that. I don't think they'd go with him anyway. I don't think Marcus Freeman would be like, I don't want one player making our decisions. So I don't think he would recruit that way. But
it has to be something like that in that magnitude.
Yeah, my only thing though with this, potential change-ups in Notre Dame, one, the money situation, they're just fine with it. And two, as much as we criticize that they have no strength of schedule at the end of the year, hasn't mattered. They're still known nationally. They get the recognition. They're always top 10 because they have an easier schedule. They have freedom of scheduling. They can go against anywhere. If, Big Ten, if everyone else is sucking and one team's having a good year, they have to play those crap teams. And they have to continue to play them until those teams turn things around. A team like, Notre Dame, they put together a schedule. Those teams suck. Next year, they're like, well, we don't have to put any of those back on. I know this happens years down the line, so it's a little harder to schedule. But you do have some freedom of movement on the ledger for Notre Dame. And three, they've always been this way. They've always been the independent. So I don't really see them. Their team's so, covered in tradition. I don't see them really making that change.
Nope.
But we'll see. I mean, if they do, Big Ten potentially saving them.
I'd love to go. I'd love to see them join. Was the SEC to take on their old coach? I hope they put LSU on their schedule, and I hope they beat the crap out of them.
No, the one I want to see is I want Michigan and Notre Dame, that rivalry in the Big Ten.
Oh, I mean, it's already a rivalry, and then
it's already a huge rival, and not to mention that Notre Dame just stole the grandson of Lloyd Carr out of Michigan's recruits for the next season. 5-star quarterback switched to Notre Dame.
What's his name?
The grandson of Lloyd Carr. It is CJ Carr, class of 2024.
Sweet.
Yep, grandson of Lloyd Carr is like
Michigan.
a historical figure in Michigan coaching history.
Yeah.
And his grandson just goes, nope, I'm going to go to your rival. You're like, oh my God, biggest slap in the face ever.
He took over for Bo Schembechler. Well, he was defensive coordinator or something like that.
He put together a great resume out there, though. So
because Tom Brady.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see how that all goes. But Matt, why don't we go back into the NFL like we were yesterday? We got through the AFC East and the NFC East as well. So how about, since we got plenty of time here today, let's go into our own division, because it's kind of what I feel we might need more time for, because we got our two teams involved in here. Cleveland's got question marks. Cincinnati was in the Super Bowl. Pittsburgh's got question marks. Can Baltimore stay healthy? Matt, I dropped my pen, so I got to grab it here. So I'll give you a second to start it out with the Steelers. Might as well go this way to start us.
First of all, I want one of those hats. Those draft hats they had, those are sick. I want one. But Pittsburgh, we talked about yesterday about their defense being a little shaky last year. We've added some new players. I like the addition of Miles Jack. Hey, that guy from the Browns too. What was his name? He was one of the guys involved in the fight a couple of years ago with Mason Rudolph. What was his name? It's not obviously not Myles Garrett did not join the Browns, but it was the other guy. I'm thinking. I'm looking. I'm on the roster. Defense. Here we go. Larry Ogunjobi. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Alec, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm muted. That was my bad. I was saying Larry Ogunjobi, he's a great player. I like him.
Yeah, Ogunjobi. He'll be a great addition. I do believe that Hayden is on the way out, but he's old. He's been getting beat. He is. And they've been saying that he might go back to Cleveland. Devin Bush is coming around. He's getting into his prime a little bit. I like to see what he can do this year. I really, like I said, Miles Jack. This is going to be sick. Miles Jack and back there with, TJ and, I like the way Robert Spillane came around a little bit too. And, obviously the guy who I think is our leader on defense is, Cameron Hayward. And he's still going around.
Right. Veteran leadership too. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Matt, here's your complete rundown of 2022 free agency tracking. Mitch Trubisky, obviously, is a big one that we're going to get to in a moment. Miles Boykin, the wide receiver. I think that's a good acquisition. They re-signed Chukwuma Okorafor. They brought in James Daniels, offensive guard. They got a 3-year contract on Mason Cole.
I like that.
As you mentioned, Larry Ogunjobi got the 1-year deal worth up to $8 million. They brought in some linebacker help. They got Jannard Avery, who I believe played for the Bengals at one point. Miles Jack got signed on a 2-year deal. Robert Spillane was re-signed. Arthur Mullet was re-signed. Levi Wallace was brought in at the corner position. Keller Witherspoon was re-signed. Terrell Edmonds re-signed. Minka Fitzpatrick got a huge re-signing done. He's going to be with the team until 2026. Demonte Kazi signed a 1-year deal. Miles Killebrew re-signed a $4 million 2-year deal.
I like him on special teams. Killebrew on special teams is really good.
Yes, he was. And Cardinal Joseph signed a 1-year contract. And Gunnar Olszewski, who is a kick returner, signed a 2-year, $4.2 million contract.
From the Patriots.
Which is great, because I think your team needed a kick returner.
Yeah.
Because I feel like special teams for Pittsburgh especially has kind of been lacking these last few seasons. You've had a lot of fumble issues, and I feel like a rotating door at the kick return situation, and perhaps bringing in, one guy to be that spot. Hey, we're bringing you in as a specialty player. You got one job on this team. Go do that. And do it perfectly. I think potentially could be a good thing for this Steelers squad. As one, they're trying to avoid injury. You're not going to put your star wide receiver back there, 3, 4, 5 times a game and just go like, oh, please don't get injured, because that can end up bad. So I think bringing in a one guy to have this role for the Steelers, it's going to do wonders for your special teams game that I feel like outside of Boswell has kind of struggled.
Yeah. But I want to talk about this quarterback room a little bit. And, obviously Mitchell Trubisky's in there. But the big two names for me are Trubisky and Pickett.
Right.
Rudolph is just another dude there. Honestly, the guy they also, they drafted two quarterbacks in this draft. Chris Aludican from South Dakota State. We've actually seen him play.
Oh, yeah.
So playing YSU, but I like the way he can move around. He's another mobile guy.
You and I just like the South Dakota State helmets. That's what it is.
I love those helmets. But
that blue, that South Dakota State
that blue is awesome.
It's the best blue in the world.
Yeah, it is. It is.
When someone says their favorite color is blue, that's the color.
That's the blue. Yeah. But he could potentially, Rudolph, I believe, is on his way out. We were talking a little bit. Dwayne Haskins, once again, rest in peace. But that I really believe it was going to be Trubisky, Haskins, and Pickett. Rudolph was out, but things happened, and they had to kind of jump into place and try to adjust, which is why they drafted this Chris Aludican. They're trying to get somebody that can be that third string guy, and they don't want it to be Mason Rudolph. They're pushing him out the door.
Well, Matt, I'm going to have to back that off a little bit. This was a report that came out just July 1st, just 4 days ago. An NFL insider came out and said there's an absolutely zero trade market for Mason Rudolph, which
nobody wants him.
Surprise anybody, right? But the Steelers also still haven't ruled Mason Rudolph out of the starting job. So there's still a chance come, preseason game number 1, the first guy out the door is Mason Rudolph taking snaps under his center. It seems the most unlikely, and it kind of just feels like Mike Tomlin is just going to wait until that day 1 to make that announcement of who's it going to be. And because I think the one thing is you don't want to come out the door and go, it's Mitch Trubisky, because then Kenny Pickett, your rookie quarterback, is going to have himself a hissy fit and be like, yo, you take me number 1. You take me in the first round with your big pick, really the first quarterback you've even looked at in the last 20 years, and you're just immediately giving me the bench card like that. I think they're doing this. Keep Kenny Pickett involved. Make him think he's fighting for that spot. And if he does come out on top, they're going to give it to him, and they're going to give him that spot if he earns it. But I don't think they want to just go out there and say Kenny Pickett's our guy, because then I think he's going to slow down, and then they can't go back on their word to start things out. Things are going to go down. Right. There's a lot of noise, outside noise, that could affect the situation. So I like the Steelers keeping this quarterback situation quiet, say, hey, everybody's in the running right now, because at the end of the day, they don't care that he was the first pick. They don't care that Mitch Trubisky has had an up and down career. They don't care that Mason Rudolph the last couple of years has been less than good.
Crap.
They want who's going to be best right now.
There's 50 feet of crap. And then, wait. There's 50 feet of crap. There's Nathan Peterman, and then there's Mason Rudolph.
I don't know. I might take Nathan. Yeah, I definitely think we'll take Nathan Peterman over Rudolph. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Six Peterman.
It's Nathan Peterman.
I'll never forget that. Nathan Peterman.
We'll see. But Matt, I think the Steelers, they got a bright future coming out of this one. They got a lot of room to grow at quarterback position, obviously. Offensive line seems to be sealing back up a little bit more, because there were some questions in later stages of Big Ben's career. That offensive line was having heavy deterioration. They're starting to rebuild that. Najee Harris, as much as I don't like him, he is an effective runner.
Oh, yeah. What's that line?
Overrated right now. He's still I don't dislike Najee Harris. I dislike the noise around Najee Harris. Okay. He continues to be bolstered as one of the best running backs in the NFL already, and under no circumstances is that even remotely true. He had a lot of yards, but he also had, I think, the second or third most carries in all the NFL, and he had one of the worst yards per carries. That's my thing right now, is he is not an efficient runner. That's my only problem with him. And there's a lot of noise talking about, who's the best runner in the Big Ten? It's obviously Nick Chubb. There's no question about it. Nick Chubb is the best running back in the Big Ten, yes.
Okay.
in the AFC North. Sorry. Yeah, we were just talking Big Ten.
Wait, no, it's not Nick Chubb. It's Lamar Jackson.
Best running back position player. He plays quarterback. Doesn't count. But, yeah, I mean, I think it goes Nick Chubb. Then probably got Joe Mixon, number 2. I'd have Kareem Hunt, number 3, when he's healthy, because Kareem Hunt is a phenomenal running back. I'd probably put Dobbins at the 4. He just wasn't healthy last year, so we kind of forgot about him. I think whoever's starting running back for the Ravens is that 4 spot, rather whether it's Gus Edwards or J.K.
Edwards,
because they're both phenomenal.
Yeah,
both great guys. And then I'd probably have Najee Harris out of starting backs. I mean, I'd probably put him down at number 5 in the AFC North.
I like that Dearness Johnson too.
Yeah, Dearness Johnson. I mean, can we just talk about how deep the Browns had to go running back last year? I mean, they got down to a guy named John Kelly out of UCLA, who I think was 5th on this list to start the season.
Yeah. But I want to talk a little bit about our acquisition of James Daniel. I mean, the guy, well, he's from Warren, Ohio. He went to Warren Harding. So I like the local, a little bit of a local tie. And he went to Iowa. I mean, Iowa's a tough offense.
That's where you go for linemen.
And tight ends, too. So I like where he came from. He played with Chicago, so he's comfortable with Mitchell Trubisky. I like that. He's protected Trubisky before he was there 2018.
Pretty much his entire career. He's done it.
Yeah,
he was with Chicago 2018 and 2021. So this was the first time he was available.
I do like that. Now, we're talking about this running back or this quarterback room, a little bit. I really think it's Trubisky's job at first. Pickett will come in a little bit after, maybe mid-season, or if not next season. I think he needs to sit. I do think out of any of the quarterbacks, he has the most NFL readiness in that draft, but I mean, it's not that much. He needs to sit for a little bit. Trubisky, I know he's been on some bad teams. Look who Trubisky has sat behind. I'm sure he picked up some stuff from Josh Allen. I'm pretty sure about that. And, he took 2 bad Bears teams to the playoffs. That one year they were good, and they could have won that game, but, double doink. But that, like a year before or so, he took an 8-8 Bears team to the playoff. So I think they made a wild card or something. So ultimately, I think they lost to the Packers by a lot. But I like he's a mentor guy too. I like that too. I just like the local guys. So, and he went to North Carolina. So I don't know. I have something in there for him. I think he could be all right. He took a year off, pretty much, sitting behind one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of them. So let's see what he can learn. And, Coach Tomlin knows what he's doing. Like, he knows how to coach. And more on the defensive side, I really like, and I can't remember his name right now, who's the old Dolphins coach?
Flores?
Who?
Brian Flores?
Yeah, Brian Flores is a linebackers coach, which eventually I think he's going to be groomed into the defensive coordinator position. I think so. So I like that he's in there somehow. Like, the dude is a heck of a coach, and I think that whole thing was horrible. But I like the quarterback room. How about this running back room? Besides Najee Harris, I think Benny Snell. You get room for the Benny Snell to go. We've seen it at Kentucky. Yeah. They beat Penn State in that bowl game. Snell ran everywhere, all over that. Penn State's defense is. Every year they have a hard-nosed type of defense, and Snell went everywhere because of his good offensive line. They make those holes. So I like they threw a couple of young guys there on that offensive line for Pittsburgh. And, we drafted a couple too, I believe. So, create more holes.
That'll give you some extra beef around this James Daniels kid. In his 4 years at Chicago, he only allowed 4 sacks at the right guard position.
He knows what he's doing.
3 of them came last year, though, and he had his worst season of his career was last year. So hopefully a change up here is all he needs. that Chicago team last year was bad all around, though. It was bad.
It was bad.
But, he's a former second-round pick in the 2018 draft. As you mentioned, out of Iowa, played in Chicago 4 years. I'm rooting for him to make that turnaround because he looks to be a really great offensive lineman. the AFC North has had some really great O-lines in the past, and most of them have come out of Pittsburgh. You kind of just want that prestige back for them as well, especially, having that new quarterback in there, whether it's Trubisky, Rudolph, or Pickett. You want them to have the best chance to have some form of success.
Now let's talk about our wide receivers. I mean, we did pick George Pickens, who is a flamethrower runner. He has speed. I love his route running. You have Deontay Johnson, who's going to be like your number one guy. Now, you have Johnson, Claypool, and then you drafted Pickens and Calvin Austin. And I really like that we stole Calvin Austin pretty much from Baltimore. Baltimore was going to snag him. You're like, no way. They picked him. So I like that. We also did pick up Anthony Miller, who played for the Bears. So another guy coming in that Trubisky is familiar with. So that's all signs there that he's going to be the starting quarterback for a little bit. They're bringing in guys that he used to play with. So we'll just have to wait and see. And, Pat Freiermuth will be coming back at that tight end position. I do like Miles Boykin. We were talking about that. Connor Hayward's back there, fullback. So,
yeah, and overall, there's a lot of pieces for whoever the next quarterback is to work with offensively and defensively. There's a lot to go over there. And, right now, FanSided has them rated, I believe, the number 11 wide receiver core in football, which is a lot better than where they have been. So, as you were saying, I mean, Chase Claypool is a really good wide receiver. Deontay Johnson, he's
got better. That first year
was
ferocious, but last year he really got better. He dropped a lot of passes that first year. I was sick to my stomach. Oh my gosh, he's throwing it to him. Like, oh gosh, there's another drop pass. Last year, he reformed himself. I saw him doing the drills with the tennis balls. He does that before every game to warm up. So I liked how he has progressed, and hopefully he can get better. They saw something in them when they picked him. And here we go. I really
George
can't
Pickens
wait.
And Calvin Austin, I think, probably the wild cards to add into there. But Matt, maybe one of the better stats for Pittsburgh, out of the 96 wide receivers that play in the NFL currently, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool both rank in the top 25 for yards per route run. Deontay Johnson's at 1.8 yards per route run, and Claypool's at 1.84 yards per route run.
Then you throw George Pickens in there too. The dude was a beast at Georgia. They just won a national championship. So
not thanks to their offense though. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah.
George Pickens was the best of crap on a really bad offense.
Yeah, but still.
You hold on to your hope there for that one.
Oh yeah, but
I'm not too confident in that move. But
I'm really more excited about Calvin Austin from Memphis.
Yeah, so we'll see. But how about we'll go to my team next year?
Yeah, go ahead. We burned some time.
My team. This is a fun one to talk about, isn't it, Matt? Because how can you begin to talk about them when we don't know the future of who's playing quarterback? Because the Browns won't trade Baker Mayfield for whatever reason. It's not like he's going to play for him, even if, Deshaun Watson gets suspended. He's pretty much already said, I think my time here is done. And the Browns have pretty much said the same thing. In fact, their Twitter just the other day posted a picture of Deshaun Watson in the jerseys and went QB1. And it's like, well, that's a great look for the team. Yay, go Browns, At the moment, I mean, that's the piece. Is like,
here's this.
Wonderful. There is one good thing. Jacoby Brissett's our backup quarterback, and I like Jacoby Brissett. I thought he was great at Indianapolis, but I think the sad thing is the Browns are going to be paying so much money to Deshaun Watson, and who knows when he's going to play.
Super move. I'll always say it. I think that they should get a trade going with that because
no one's touching him. No way. No way anybody is touching Deshaun Watson.
No, I'm talking about Baker. I think they need to trade Baker.
I saw one the other day that was like having some noise behind it, but I don't think it had any weight to it. Was a potential move using Baker Mayfield. I think I have it sent to you.
If Baker plays, he's going to be bad on purpose. I feel it. They need to
I
trade.
wouldn't put it past them, yeah.
Trade Baker to the Seahawks, okay, for DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that is the trade I think I had sent you guys in the group chat.
I saw that.
Somewhere along the way back. And I think it was like Baker for DK. Browns would also send along like a first, a second, and a third or something along that just to get the trade moving. Wouldn't be the worst idea. I mean, Seahawks don't have a quarterback. DK is going to
Browns really don't have their receivers.
That's not true. We got Amari Cooper.
Oh, okay, that's right. We do got Amari Cooper. But, I mean, can't even think of his name.
Right now, we got Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and David Bell as the three starting wide receivers. Browns no longer with the services of Austin Hooper. So David Njoku back in as the tight end number 1. Harrison Bryant's the number 2. Not really much behind that. It'll be an interesting offense.
I remember Cooper.
To say the least. It's going to be run-focused. And if it's not, shame on Stefanski if this isn't a run-focused team this year.
Hooper was excited to come to Cleveland. Like, he purposely signed with them because he thought they were going to be a great team. Now, him leaving, that's a sign right there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how things go, though, for the Browns. And,
Landry Jones.
The big one is the quarterback position. We'll see what that works. Oh, also, the Browns also signed Jakeem Grant as well, 3-year, $13.8 million deal. They brought in Ethan Posich on the offensive line, re-signed Jadeveon Clowney, brought in Chase Winovich, which I think probably the most interesting move they've made this offseason outside of Watson is Winovich in with the trade from the Patriots. We gave them Mac. They gave us Winovich. Both guys came out of college, a lot of noise. Both have been kind of disappointments to start. Mac Wilson definitely had a good season in there, but so did Winovich. I like the move. I hope that they kind of sprouts legs for both players because I think they both had a bright future. And it's just things have started to slow down for them as their teams have improved around them. I hope things turn around, but he'll make a good addition onto the defensive line because the Browns have struggled, I think, a little bit more than they should to rush the passer. And I think it's really hurt them because outside of Myles Garrett, it was nobody else. And that's why Garrett's numbers started declining because teams went, well, we don't have to worry about the other 3 guys coming in. We'll just put 3 guys over there on Myles Garrett. So that's why you think you saw Garrett's numbers decline. Garrett still had great numbers despite facing nonstop doubles and triple teams with having no other rusher out there on the field. And hopefully Clowney can get back to form a little bit. He doesn't need to be great. He just needs to be kind of better. They brought in also Stephen Weatherly to the defensive end side. They re-signed Anthony Walker, re-signed Denzel Ward to a huge 5-year deal. Thank you. And they re-signed Ronnie Harrison and Chase McLaughlin, the kicker. They brought in a new kicker, or a new punter, though. No more Scottish Hammer. Corey Bojorquez will be the new kicker or new punter for the Browns. So we'll see how that goes. Kind of sad, though, because I like the Scottish Hammer. But overall, the Browns have the potential to be a good team.
They do.
The potential is all there for this.
They screwed it up a little bit.
Maybe, but
Odell was up.
Were they really? My big thing here, Matt, is were they really going to go anywhere with Baker Mayfield? It kind of felt like they were capped.
Yeah.
They had hit their peak.
But they damaged that situation.
Baker Mayfield.
They damaged that situation more. Like, they could have kept their wide receivers. If they would have just traded Baker earlier, imagine, you'd probably still have Beckham and Landry. So, and the way they did it, Alec, the way they did it was this.
I'm well aware, Matt. I followed this team all last year. I complained every single week of how crappy they've handled the situation. I'm well aware. I'm taking this at face notice right now because that's all we got.
I know.
There is no point in going back on, they should have handled this a lot better. Yeah, no SHIT. They should have handled this a lot better.
Which means they're going to have a chip on their shoulder this
Which
year.
Means nothing because it's Cleveland. Yeah. I got a Brown scarf right here in my background. I like the Browns. They're my family's team. At the same time, more than likely, we finish last place in the AFC North again. More likely than not. And that is a darn shame.
Yeah,
because this team has every single piece of a Super Bowl team. We were in the playoffs just 2 years ago. We were close as well this year until things kind of folded down in the last.
If it wasn't for Tyreek Hill, man, I'm happy he's on the Dolphins. But
as I was saying, the Browns have the makings of a good team. They got every piece. They got great running
based on their defense.
Matt, let me finish, dude. Come on.
All right.
The Browns have great running backs. They got a decent wide receiver core. They got a pretty good offensive line. Defensive backs have been getting better every year. They still need some help because, Denzel Ward, Ronnie Harrison, great guys back there. Corners at times can be a little lackluster. But this team has everything. They got a good head coach now, too. Kevin Stefanski has been right there in making great moves. His play calling at times is a little off, but he was trying to show confidence in Baker Mayfield. He was trying to give him every opportunity to prove himself. And I think that's why so many times last year when everyone was yelling, just run the football, he kept throwing the ball because he wanted his quarterback to succeed in Baker Mayfield. And we'll see how he takes in Jacoby Brissett, who likely will be the day one starter for the Cleveland Browns because Deshaun Watson is going to get half a season to a whole season, maybe more potentially on this suspension. Baker Mayfield won't play, and Josh Dobbs will be our number 2 quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. But I think you look at the Browns, they got a good team. Matt, would you like to say anything about Cleveland?
Sorry for interrupting, but yeah, I like their defense. I think they should base it around the defense and the run. Mostly because they're not going to have Watson at the start of the season. Still don't know what they're going to do with Baker. That's a big question. Like that's what everybody's asking. They going to cut him, or are they going to trade him, or are they going to keep him?
Who knows? At this point, it feels like just trade him, but at the same time, there doesn't.
If you cut him, he will be that guy that signed with Pittsburgh or anybody else in that division.
There's no room in the division for him to go to.
No. Yeah.
The best option for him really is Seattle.
It is. And Pete Carroll's over there excited about, I don't even remember his name. Who's that piece of
Drew Lock.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I have belief in Drew Lock and what, Geno Smith too? You're an idiot.
Matt, what else is he gonna say? He lost. Russell Wilson got handed Drew Lock. What is he gonna come out and say? Oh boy, this should be fun. No, he has to say, I believe in our new quarterback. What's he gonna say? This dude is an A-double. He can't throw the football more than 20 yards since he left college.
Oh God. They do have Kenneth Walker, so he's gonna get some work done.
He's gonna get a lot of work. That's the number one thing. He's getting a lot of work.
It's I don't know. That's just disappointing over there.
And, speaking of disappointment, how about the Baltimore Ravens? Let's move it out of the Browns here because we got 10 minutes left on the show and 2 other teams to go on. And the Ravens might be the most interesting team in all of football to watch next year because they battled every single injury you could the entire season last year, and they were still in the mix of it until the final couple of weeks. You look at them, they were 8-9. The entire division was 2 games apart last year. It's the most competitive division top to bottom.
Yeah.
And we'll see if that stays this way with Cleveland this year. But I have plenty of faith that Baltimore, so long as they're healthy, are still going to be right back on top. This is a team that is a really good group of guys over there. And we've seen what they can be at their best and now at their worst. Even at their worst, they're probably still better than the Browns will be this year.
What was his name? No more Hollywood Brown.
That one does. That one's sad.
That stings. Who did pick? Let me look. Are you looking? Who else? Who'd they bring in?
They didn't bring in any wide receivers in free agency yet. They really haven't made a ton of moves in free agency.
They tried to get that Calvin Austin.
But yeah, they did. I'm looking now.
They shot themselves.
Wide receivers, they got Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota, his second year. They got rookies, Slade Bolden out of Alabama, Shamar Bridges out of Fort Valley State College, and Trevon Clark out of California. They will also have rookie Macau Polk out of Mississippi State. They got Benjamin Victor out of Ohio State coming back for his second year. They got a lot of wide receivers actually this year.
That Benjamin Victor was pretty good.
Yeah, he was. He was fast too. They also got rookie Relay Webb on the roster right now, another rookie, and Devon Williams out of Oregon.
And they still have Lamar Jackson. So that's a guy that they're focused on.
And as much as you don't like him, you gotta admit he is a game changer.
Yeah.
He is dominant.
I can't stand him, but
defensively, they brought in 2 first-round picks and Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame and Tyler Linderbaum in the offensive line. Not to mention, they may have had the single best steal of the draft, and David Ojabo out of Michigan, who would have been top 15 if he hadn't torn his Achilles. We'll see if he ends up playing here this season, or we have to wait for his debut another year. But David Ojabo is still one of the best players in this year's draft, and they got him all the way back. They beefed up offense. They beefed up the outside. Now they got Charlie Kolar as well, Iowa State tight end coming in the 4th round. They got Jordan Stout, the punter, out of Penn State. They brought in Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina and the Chanticleers.
And get this. There's somebody that works with the Scrappers, and she actually goes to Coastal Carolina. And I'm like, oh, wow, what's that like? She went to the games and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's awesome. So she's like, I go to Coastal Carolina, and I'm immediately like, yeah, Chanticleers!
Chanticleers, baby!
Yeah.
That's who the Big Ten needs
like, oh my
next, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
Oh, yeah.
Newest addition to the Pac-12, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Go coast to coast on the Pac-12. But
no.
Final team here, we got to go quickly into it. Cincinnati Bengals. They were there last year. I'm worried about the hangover, man. They had such a great year last year.
I think it's going to get to Joe's head a little bit.
I don't think it'll get into his head because he's a very cool competitor. I mean, he's so cool for a reason.
They call him.
I feel like the guys around him might have a little bit much. So, Mixon, his wide receivers out there, both of them, I think are gonna take a step back. Yeah, I'm blanking too on their names for a moment.
It's okay. Number 1, Chase, Jamar Chase.
Chase. We both had it come at the same time. I'm just looking at the stats.
Who's the other guy?
Man, we're looking like frauds up here, aren't we?
Look, it's not. It's
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
T. Higgins.
It's July.
Yeah. They also brought in Hayden Hurst and Thaddeus Moss at the tight end spots, but they're also going to have, their guy and Drew Sample out there. They got Von Bell in at safety. Really some great moves for them all in all out of this thing. They re-signed Eli Apple and Trey Flowers and Michael Thomas and Clark Harris. They re-signed a lot of guys after last year. Plus, they brought in an offensive lineman and Alex Kappa, 4-year, $35 million deal. So they also brought in Ted Karras on the offensive line and Lyle Collins. So they completely are redoing the line. So good there. Probably going to be a good year. As much as I say, I'm worried about the hangover effect.
Yeah.
They don't seem like a team that really stays down for long.
Yeah. But you know what division I'm kind of excited to see here? I know if we want to move on here. We got
to run down our picks, and then that'll wrap up the show here.
Oh, okay. But
Tuesday.
We'll talk about AFC West tomorrow.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, tomorrow. I won't be on tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes tomorrow.
Okay.
But Matt, let's give our rundowns here. I think I know who you're going to go with number 1 just because they're your team. Are you going to put Pittsburgh at number 1 in the division, or are you going to think somebody else might have a better year since you have quarterback, new quarterback blues?
I'm going to put Cincinnati there again.
You're going to put Cincy at 1?
Yeah, I'll put Pittsburgh at 2. I think, honestly, I'm going to put the probably put Baltimore. I don't know. The Cleveland's got some problems going on. So right now,
no hard feelings.
I think Pittsburgh, they got to adjust a little bit. I think they're going to find the right way, but I think it might be too late. I think Cincinnati might pull away by then in the division. But I think it'll be enough to get a playoff. I think they'll make the playoffs.
Okay. Keep in mind, these are our way too early predictions. We'll probably read this as we get farther along in the season, especially After
like
preseason,
week
we're
3,
going to do this all over again.
After week 3, I'm like, oh yeah, well, I know where we're going.
Preseason is we're going to make some change-ups there. For me, Matt, I got Baltimore as the number 1 team. They fought so many injuries last year, and we're only like 2 games back, all in all, from first place here. I think a lot of that's going to change. Their offense was lackluster because they barely had anybody out there. Most of the time, it was Lamar Jackson and whoever they found off the sidewalk during like 5 minutes before the game playing wide receiver, and they were down to their 6th running back in there. I got Baltimore returning to number 1 so long as they stay healthy. Number 2, Cincinnati. I'm worried about the hangover. Not that much. Pittsburgh's working out the quarterback spot. Plus, they made some change-ups to the wide receiver core. I still don't like it. They're going to make it here in the 3rd spot on their defense, which still was lackluster last year. They need to get better. I got my team, Cleveland, finishing in last place because 4th place in Cleveland Browns just seem to be the best romance in all of football.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does.
Yep. Well, I mean, any final closing thoughts here on college football's big moves or AFC North?
Is Arch Manning going to be a bust?
We'll find out. I don't know.
He's hyped up. Where did he end up going? Texas.
And Quinn Ewers. What's going to happen to Quinn freaking Ewers?
Like, I think that's his job. Okay.
No way is Steve Sarkisian letting Quinn Ewers lead them into the future when you got Arch Manning coming in.
Yeah, I know.
Because Sarkisian knows better than anybody from his time at Alabama.
Even though that
you are not putting the number 1 quarterback in the class on the bench for a whole season. Yeah. It ain't going to work. Kids these days don't have any patience for that at these big schools. But same with Quinn Ewers. He sat at Ohio State and he went peace.
Yeah. Ewers is going to – Manning's still in high school. He's got 1 more year of high school left. So Ewers is going to get that job.
We'll see who starts day 1.
I do like that guy they had. Man, I forget his name. But
we'll get more into the Big 12 as we get later on into the summer.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in baseball last night, really. It was a 4th of July baseball
we
day.
Lost to Detroit.
Yeah, again. But that is going to do it here for the Alec Cabrera and Matt Morrison edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. We may see you tomorrow, may not. Schedule's a bit wobbly at the moment, but you'll find out if we're live at 2 p.m. tomorrow, as will we. So that'll do things here for the show. Power Hour coming up next on your sports network. Class B baseball going on tonight, along with the Scrappers. Matt, are they playing tonight?
Yeah, they do play tonight.
You can find both those here on the network. That does it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.